did you start making music?
Initially in 1987, but it started prior to that. I was doing backyard parties with my cousin Ernie and my brother Dwayne. So that's how I got started musically. Being a big fan of Alan Esters, Eddie Fowlkes,
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
Dunbar, John Collins, Daryl Shannon, and the list just goes on and on. And hearing my cousin Ernie talk about how great Ken Collier was, and he used to go by Ken Collier's house to get records, and me and my cousin started hanging out and going to different parties. That's how I got started. But in 1987, that's when vinyl began. My brother, my twin brother, was a fraternity brother of Sigma fraternity at Eastern Michigan University. So that's how he met Kevin. My brother said, "Hey, my twin brother DJs," and that's how we hooked up. It went from there. I guess everyone listened to Juan Atkins, Cybertron, Alleys of Your Mind, Technicolor, and hearing that on Electrifying Mojo, I was always inspired, to do music, and always heard melodies and bass lines in my head. But when I found out that's what Kevin was doing, I told my brother, you gotta hook me up. So after we met, I saw his hookup, his studio in Ypsilanti. I went out and I went out to Wonderland Music across the Northland at the time.
Yeah.
That was years ago. And I bought me a Kawai R100 drum machine. The salesperson said it just came out. And last week, George Clinton just bought one. He started playing with it. He hit the atomic snare. And he said, this is what George Clinton was sold on. And I said, well, if he was sold, I want one too. So I saved up my last dime and bought me one.
Only play the class gigs, never making it to the bridge. We got R&B skeletons in the closet.
First drum track I programmed, this probably go into the next question, was how to play our music.
You can't that's how to play our music. No, you can't that's how to play our music. No, you can't.
Now that was the drum track. The snares rolling through the track at different octaves. That's how to play our music came about. But prior to that, Kevin was doing parties at Eastern Michigan University. Yeah, him, Art Payne, and some other cats. So Kevin was doing this party at Eastern, and he needs some additional speakers. He said, saying, "Can I borrow your bullfrogs?" And I said, "Yeah, you can borrow them." He used them and never brought them back. And somehow they got caught in the fire or something, he said. And he said, the way of making it up to me was put me in the studio. So that's how I got in the studio.
Way.
And created how to play my music. And the sound was just a B-side at the time. We had no idea that the sound would take off. Later, I found out that it sold 10,000 copies at the time.
No
Back
way.
in 1987, back then selling 10,000 vinyls is pretty amazing compared to today's market. You'd be lucky if you sell 3, 4, 200. So
how did the tracks, the sound, and rock to the beat come about?
well, as I said, the sound was a B-side. It was just a throw-in track for how to play our music. Because initially, I was supposed to be Santonio by myself on the vinyl, and Kevin said, "Hey, let's make it Santonio and Reese." But when the record came out, it was Reese and Santonio. So I said, "What the heck? Let it flow." So at the time, my twin brother and I, and my younger brother, and another of his fraternity brothers had a janitorial business going on. And we would clean buildings here and there. We bought into a franchise. My twin brother said he wanted to make a record. So at the time, KMS had a studio in Ypsilanti in our apartment. My brother went over there, twin brother went by, made a track, laid down some tones and another line. Kevin laid some vocals, rock to the beat.
Said rock to the beat. I 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 said rock to the beat.
It sat for a moment, and my brother said, "Hey, I'm gonna make you an offer. I'm gonna buy you out of the janitorial business for the Rock to the Beat track. You can have the rights." And I said, "That's a good deal. I take that deal." So that's how that came about. I owned the rights, the publishing, the portion of his, and it became a part of the recent Santonio catalog. His had to been around 1988, late 88, 89. Yeah, because Rock to the Beat sat for a little bit. Then it got picked up by London Records, Pete Tong. Pete Tong, we flew out to London. They wanted to do a deal, but we had to create the third recent Santonio because we did Bounce Your Body, we did Force Field. Force Field, I did at my mom's home. I did force fill in the Kawai R100.
Yeah.
I had bought me a keyboard and played the bass line. I called my younger brother in my bedroom and said, "Listen to this." And he said, "Oh, that's pretty hot." Kevin remixed it, and force fill is what you hear today. But we flew out to London to do the third release. We went to the studio in London. James Pennington, he was out there. We came up with Truth or Self-Evidence. Now, that is what the Martin Luther King speech. We hold these truths to be self-evident.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. We hold these truths to be self-evident. I still have a dream.
And then later on, the next day, Kevin said, "Hey, you got to do the next track on your own." Because I was kind of intimidated because I'd never been in a massive studio that big, right? And he said, "Don't worry, you have an engineer." I said, "As long as I got an engineer, I just can tell him what I wanted." So I created Structure, which was Truth for Self-Evidence, Structure, and Grab to the Beat became the next EP. And I remember going to Pete Tong's office. We sat in the office with Kevin's manager at the time. He listened to Truth for Self-Evidence. He was crazy about it. Then he heard Structure, and he heard the bass line come in the Structure, and he said, "Who did this?" I said, "I did." He said, "This is massive." He said, "Let's do the deal." And that's how it became on London Records.
You were over in London. What did you think when you first got over there?
When I first got there, I was amazed. Because I never traveled overseas, but when I got over there, we went to Jive Studios, and somebody walked in the day before, had the chicken pox, and I caught the chicken pox. And I think I was laid in bed. Yeah, I was in my 30s. Most of the time I was in bed. But I still was able to create. I had a great time, and that's when I think Kevin met Ann out there, and so yeah. But that's a little bit of the history of recent Santonio.
There is that picture of you, Juan, Eddie, Blake, Derek, Kevin. How did that amazing classic picture come about? You have to tell us.
I remember this was a long time ago. No, I remember in Ypsilanti. I was staying in Ypsilanti. Kevin and I were roommates. I just remember Kevin saying, "We got to go downtown and take this photo shoot." And I'm thinking, just a simple photo picture. I remember him calling Juan, calling Derek. What time y'all gonna be there? We gotta be there at a certain time. So when we got there, all of us was there. Eddie was running late. When Eddie got there, Normski was there, and we took several pictures, but that shot that is well known today has become legendary. And even though there were a few key people missing, James Pennington, Jit, Suburbanite, and Art Forrest. So Jit should have been there, but I think he was working at that time. He couldn't get off work.
Do you have that at your house?
No, I just have it on my phone. I don't have it posted anywhere. It's just on my phone. I think it was 7 months ago, 8 months ago. Eddie said, "Hey, you got that picture?" I said, "Yeah, it's in my phone. I sent it to you." So yeah.